Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad you're here today, and I'm really glad you're going to have an opportunity to listen to and engage with Melissa Swank. Melissa is a member of this parish. She's a board-certified health and wellness coach who has a master's degree and 15 years of experience in public health in the public health sector. And then after being part of that for that period of time, she realized that she wanted to move from managing health concerns to helping people to prevent them. So she founded what is now called the wellbeing, which is her way of helping individuals maintain their health or even reverse early signs of health issues. She has a passion for helping people increase their quality of life and to live their lives for as long as they possibly can with joy, with energy, and with well-being. And I've had the privilege of not only getting to know Melissa, but to work with her on some things, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think you'll appreciate what she has to say as we think about a holistic approach to life that involves not only our spiritual well-being, but emotional and other parts of our well-being. Melissa, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely intro. Thank you. All right, is my mic on? Am I good? Everyone hear me? Yep. Awesome. I'm typically don't even need to be mic'd. I'm told frequently to stop talking so loudly. So I'd like to begin by just saying wellness and whole being wellness is more than just marathons and kale salads. So this is what I've titled our talk for today. Hopefully by the end of our conversation, you'll have a little bit more information about what goes into wellness and things that affect your health outcomes. You'll understand the difference when we use the word health and we use the word wellness. Hopefully you'll also have a better idea of the 6 dimensions of wellness, and I'll be talking about those. And I'm going to leave you with the opportunity to think about how you might want to make some changes or start making changes to your life today. Of course, these factors impacting our health outcomes, we're going to start with some sobering facts. But don't worry, I'm going to start you a little bit intense, and then we're going to go to really interesting and fun ways that you can improve. So the first thing I just want to mention is that chronic disease is rampant in America. 6 out of 10 adults deal with chronic diseases. 4 in 10 actually deal with more than one. Of the top 10 chronic diseases, and this is actually a little bit antiquated, there should be another one down here at the bottom. Of the top 10, at least 8 are related to lifestyle changes and lifestyle habits. The one that's missing down here is liver disease. We're also missing suicide and accidents. But we now know that mental health is actually impacted by lifestyle as well, so we might actually be able to add in the mental health strain that it goes along with suicide as well. So we're really talking about the vast majority of things that impact mortality are impacted by the choices we make. So what are these top factors? I'm going to just throw them out there because it's important to think about what could potentially impact your lifestyle and well-being. I was just at a talk a few weeks ago, and the physician from Mayo Clinic presented this in a really concise way, so I'm using their slide. The first one, never smoking. Second one, physical activity, making sure you're getting enough physical activity. Nutrition, what your quality of nutrition is. Sleep, stress management, your social connections. We're going to talk about all of these in a moment. Alcohol moderation and opioid use. The great thing about this is each one of these you can check off. They're additive. So they don't just deal with, it's not just one at a time. Every one that you do compounds on the next, and it makes it even easier for you to reach longevity goals that you have for yourself. So if we know this, then what's the problem, right? We're aware of the things that could impact our wellness and our lives. We seem to be missing something, right? Something isn't coming through. Why is that? Because life happens, right? We know that more than half of the US of adults report drinking alcohol in the past 30 days, because this is part of our life. Nearly 17% of adults binge drink daily and report heavy drinking. We know that only 28% of Americans have enough physical activity in their lives. Fewer than 1 in 10 Americans eats enough fruits and vegetables. About 11.5% of America still smokes. 13% of men, 10% of women. We know that 1 in 5 Americans experiences daily loneliness. And we also know that a lot of us aren't getting enough sleep. So we know the things that impact longevity and our life and health and well-being, but we're also not necessarily doing the things that we need to do to meet that. So let's start by getting the idea of what's the difference between health and wellness. Can anyone suggest what they might think the difference would be?
Well, it's kind of interrelated.
Yeah.
I mean, I issue the elderly is, unless they need their health, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So wellness kind of is more of an overall
Mm-hmm.
approach. But health can be anything from, covered from substance, from some major disease or operation.
Yeah, totally.
How you are and how you feel.
I love that. How you are and how you feel. That's a great definition. I love both of those. You're right. And both of those are accurate. They're both components of this. So a gentleman in 1974 came up with the idea of this health and wellness spectrum. The idea that there's a difference between illness and wellness. And most of us kind of want to hover in, where's my shadow? In this zone. We call this the comfort zone. We're neutral, right? We're not sick. We're not managing sepsis. We're not dealing with difficulties or strains. We're aiming for that. And yet we know, I mean, how many of us during COVID felt not good? We weren't sick. We weren't struggling with anything, maybe. Maybe we were lucky we didn't get COVID, but we still didn't feel right. We felt trapped, we felt alone, we felt not good, right? Because we weren't over here. We weren't optimizing our wellness. We weren't paying attention to how we feel. We weren't reaching for this overall wellness spectrum. So if we define wellness, the dictionary says that it's a state of good health, especially when actively pursued. I would take that a step further. The World Health Organization and global wellness take it even further and explain it a little bit better. It's really a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. It's not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And that really corroborates that illness-wellness spectrum, right? It's not just that we aren't sick, it's that we feel well. Well, what goes into this? When we talk about feeding our wellness, there's primary foods and secondary foods. When we think about food, we think about the food that you enjoyed this morning, the food that's on your plate. We're going to call this secondary wellness, secondary food. The primary food are the things that you enjoy that feed your soul, right? The joy, spirituality, creativity, maybe health, physical activity, home cooking, right? They're all the things that are outside of the things that you put on your plate, and yet they feed you as a human being. So if you want, and I'll share these slides, you're welcome to do this now if you have a phone with you and want to. You can scan this QR code with the photo app on your phone, and you can take a look. You can grade your own primary wheel. So where are you? And this app will tell you, it just takes you to a website, and you can put little dots in here. The closer you get to the circle, the lower you would rate it. The higher you would rate this thing, the outside of the circle would be where you would put your dot. And you come up with this sort of wonky circle, and it helps you identify where you're feeling great and where you might need to pay attention. However, we know that these things don't live in isolation. And you can ask yourself this question afterward: what's something that surprised you about this? And what's one area that you want to see change? But we know that these things don't live in isolation. So just think, you can raise your hand if you'd like, but you also could just sort of think to yourself in this regard. How many of you have ever slept poorly and felt like your brain wasn't working properly? How many of you have gotten sick after a particularly stressful part of your life? Mm-hmm. How many of you had something happen at home and you take it with you to work, or vice versa, something happened at work and you take it with you home? You've eaten something that didn't agree with you and it affected you for a while afterward? Yeah. If you felt stiff and achy and just needed to get up and move your body a little bit? Mm-hmm. You felt recharged after hanging out with your friends or grabbing a drink or dinner with someone, coworkers or family, right? Maybe you felt so energized that something went well that it made you want to do it again. Has that ever happened? Or maybe you were feeling frazzled and you took a quick break to walk around or go outside and you felt really energized afterward. So why am I asking you these things, right? They seem kind of disjointed. It's the idea that these are interrelated. there are different dimensions of wellness. Oh shoot, it was supposed to come up when I pushed that button. Come on. We're just gonna do it though. Nope, we're not gonna do it that way. There we go, 6 dimensions of wellness. These things are interrelated. We put them on this spectrum because they don't stand alone, right? So when we talk about, something happens at work and you carry it home, it's because all of these things are part of your overall well-being. So we're gonna break each one of these down, but these 6 dimensions of wellness are basically the idea that different areas of your life impact one another, and they can increase or decrease or affect your overall well-being. Okay, so physical wellness, this is proper care of your body for optimal health and functioning. Your social well-being affects relationships and how you interact with others. Your emotional health is how you adapt or deal with stress or change or things in life. Your occupational health is, and most people think this is my job, but your occupation doesn't have to be a job or paid. It could be achieving a work-life balance or making sure that you're doing something that gives you purpose, that maybe it's a volunteer thing. Your spiritual wellness, this is having a sense of purpose and meaning in life. And that includes your morals and ethics as well. And then your intellectual wellness, this is recognizing your creativity, the things that bring you joy or find ways to expand your knowledge. So we're gonna go through these one at a time. First, your physical health. This is physical health, physical nutrition, home cooking. Let's give you an example of what this is like. Home cooking. So, eating outside the home has been positively associated with body weight, obesity, and poor diet quality. So as we're thinking about improving our overall health and well-being, understanding that some of these things can really impact how you feel. So choosing to eat outside the home may be a really great way to improve your social well-being, but if you're working on your physical health, you may choose differently, right? So we're gonna start talking about how these interact with one another. So if you cook or prepare foods at home, you could potentially improve your diet, improve your food choices, and your other health outcomes. So what does this mean in real life? What does it look like? So we talked about, okay, we all need to get enough physical exercise, and it could be that, but it also could be meal planning. It could be crowding out a plate with fruits and vegetables. Same size plate, just make sure you give yourself the veggies first, right? Maybe it's finding healthier options at a restaurant so you can have that social moment with friends and family and still do what you want to do. It could be limiting ultra-processed foods, or even, you can read the rest of these. Maybe scheduling your annual visit with your PCP to get some information. I tell an anecdotal story. My mother just went through this. She scheduled a meeting with her PCP and found something out about herself that's really going to improve her overall health in the long term because she's able to deal with it early. So what else might we add to this? And you can feel free to think for yourself, like, what else would I add to this list? Something that could potentially affect my physical wellness in real life. Our emotional health. This is stress management. How do you manage stress? Maybe it's your joy or your environmental awareness. This could also be related to mental health. So there's a neat correlation between your joy and your vagal tone. So the vagus nerve is the biggest nerve in your body. It runs through all the way from your brain and it innervates through all the way to your legs and the nerves in your legs. Really huge. What they found is that you finding something that brings you joy can actually make your vagus nerve work better. Isn't that interesting? So finding something, we always think about, oh, that's so silly, it just makes me happy. I'll just do it because it makes me happy. It's not silly, it's fact-based. It's something that could really improve your health and well-being by doing things that bring you joy. So what does that look like in real life? So managing your emotions and your emotional health could be breathing exercises or therapy. It could be coaching. I had to put that one in there. It could be organizing something that makes you feel a little bit calmer. Maybe even getting outside, taking a walk, getting in earth. Has anyone heard of grounding? where you go outside and you put your feet onto soil, right? Like real barefoot touching ground. That can actually be really beneficial for managing your overall emotion. I like talking about playing, and I'd love for you to turn to your neighbor for a moment and just say one thing that you do to play. As adults, we don't often think about playing. It's important to do. So go ahead, turn to your neighbor, and just share one thing you do to play. All right. Does anyone want to share anything they do to play? We play some games at my house. We love playing games, so we play that way. Does anyone else do anything that they would like to share to play? Yes, I see your hand, and she's like, no, I don't want you to call on me. Thinking about playing, we always think about kids playing, right? But as adults, it's important to bring that joy in. It can actually help you regulate. Play is also a good way to stay in the moment. And if we ever think about meditation and prayer, these are things that keep us grounded in the moment. When we're playing, we're not thinking about what happened yesterday or what will happen tomorrow, right? We're just staying present. It's a really good way to manage emotional health. Spiritual. Obviously, we're all here. We know that spiritual well-being is a big component of life. This could be religion. It could also just be mindfulness. It could be yoga or movement. It might be service, like what we do here, service to others. Again, it might just be finding that purpose, that overall meaning of why am I here? What's my purpose? What's driving me to live the life I want to live, right? Finding those things can be really important, and I'm going to highlight the sense of purpose. So, has anyone read Dan Buettner's Blue Zones? Yeah, a couple of you, okay. So Dan Buettner did this really interesting research study where he went out into the world and looked at these different small little subsets of communities who had crazy longevity. There was a community in Japan, there was another one in Greece, there was one in Loma Linda, California. And he started asking questions like, what makes this area, what makes you guys special? What makes you so much better at living longer than the rest of the world? And after he, controlled for a bunch of other factors and stratified based on their climate and their diet or whatever, he found some really interesting things. And one of those things is that having a great sense of purpose, having that spiritual wellness, can be one of the greatest indicators of longevity. So really digging into understanding, why am I here? Why am I? Why did God put me on this planet? What am I supposed to be doing, right? That can actually improve your overall longevity. So again, I like to turn this into real life, right? Because we don't all have oodles of time every single day. This might be a 5-minute meditation. It might be a prayer. It might be a quick walk, with or without the dog, with or without a friend. It might be just expressing gratitude, talking to someone that you care about and saying, hey, I care about you, I appreciate you. So it might just be a good opportunity for you to think of, how do I connect to my greater purpose? What is it that drives me? What is it that creates that spiritual wellness? Occupational health. So this runs the gamut, right? We don't think about finances as something that creates wellness, and yet we know that finances are the #1 stressor for Americans. #1. So maybe financial literacy, and this doesn't mean financial comfort. This means I know what is going on with my finances and I have a plan. That's what that means. It could be the perspectives that you have on money. What is it that money does for you? It might be safety. Do you feel safe in what you're doing for your job or for your volunteer work? It might be development, continued education. We spend about 30% of our lives working. So if you're still working, you're still in that grind. If you're not still working, thinking about all the time that you spent, how do I continue the development of my mind, bless you? How do I continue my occupational growth, right? Because we're all curious individuals. How do we keep growing and learning as we age? Maybe it's by coming to these, right? In real life, this could be, if you're still working, maybe discussing growth opportunities with a supervisor, or meet with a financial advisor to ask the silly questions that you never asked, right? It could be providing ideas or feedback about how the culture at your job or your place of volunteer might be able to improve and reach people differently. All right, social. So these are relationships, intimacy, social life, connection. And we know that relationships are a really big factor in your health and well-being. We know that having strong relationships, and this doesn't mean a lot. You don't have to have a lot of relationships, you just have to have good, strong connections with people. We know that people who have those have fewer doctor's visits, they live longer, they have lower factors like blood pressure and overall stress levels, reported stress levels. And the interesting thing is these are self-reported, right? So objectively, you might think that person's really stressed out. But because they have a social network, they have people in their lives that they feel supported by, they don't perceive those things as stress. We know from social distancing what it was like to not have a social network, right? So again, remembering that the key here is developing a strong social network. So how do you do that? I kind of love some of these ideas. I'll let you read them. But I love the idea of thinking about, what could I do? What's something that would interest me? What could I connect with? How do I get some deeper relationships with people and move from that cursory, oh, hey, hi, are you, to really understanding them as a person and learning more about them and becoming curious about how you can create and forge better relationships. So I ask you that question. How do you forge and maintain relationships in your life? We know that we're innately social. We're also intellectual. And one of the key things here I love to talk about with intellectual wellness is curiosity and creativity. So a recent study showed that creativity was shown to actually promote mental and physical health benefits in people. So exercising things that make you feel creative can actually improve your health and well-being. What does this look like in real life? Take a look. It could be anything. I'd love to hear some of the things that you guys do to feel creative. Does anyone want to share anything that they do? Yeah.
I just fix things.
I love it. I love it. Were they broken first? I couldn't resist. Yes, what do you do? Say that again? Oh, I love it. I love it. Any other things? What do you do to get creative? Yeah.
I like working for the various nonprofits.
I love that.
I've been active in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Kathy?
Growing seeds and cuttings.
Very nice. Interesting. Any particular seeds or cuttings? Or?
Folies.
Oh, very nice. I love that. So yeah, getting creative, doing what brings you joy. This is what gets you learning, right? How do I do this differently? How do I fix this? How do I make this work? How do I make this grow? When you get that curiosity and creativity in your life, you're actually forging a portion of your wellness and well-being. So I like to say this, as Thomas Fuller said, all things are difficult before they're easy. Our brains do not like change. It doesn't feel good, right? We've gotten these systems, we've gotten our habits, we just do them. Sometimes, have you ever done this where you get in the car and you are halfway there and you think, I don't remember driving here. I am about halfway here, I don't even remember doing it, right? We go on autopilot with a lot of things. When we change our habits, it feels hard. We're more fatigued. It's tiring. Our brain does not want to work. Our brain takes up a significant part of the calories that you consume every day. It is a workhorse. It is a powerhouse. And as a result, when you change what you're doing, when you improve or change your habits, it's going to feel difficult. And I like to tell my kids, when you have that feeling of this is really hard, you are forging new connections in your brain. You're creating new synapses. That's literally what's happening. Your nerve endings are reaching out, and they're trying to create synapses between the other ones to create new little connections, right? So how do we do that? You're thinking about defining your own health goals. What health goals do you have for yourself? You know, we talked about that primary food wheel, and you think about all the different things that you could potentially feel great about. And how do those impact the 6 dimensions that we talked about? So knowing those things, what type of goals would you want to put out for yourself? What things would you like to see change? What are your 3 or 5 top priorities in life? How do you merge your goals to support the things that you're really passionate about, the things that matter? And finally, that's basically what I just said. How do your goals align with your priorities? So really what we're asking ourselves is, how do I prioritize my health goals in a way that it supports my life? Because I know all this information. Everything I said before now, it's great to know. It's great. We have so much information overload in the world right now. Information at our fingertips. But it's really, how do you want to use that information to make change in your life? How is it going to impact you personally? And how will it improve or disrupt the life that you currently have, right? So let's start by saying, if we plan to do something, we're more likely to do it. I like Fred. He's got a very convoluted way to say all the things that are important and that he's doing, right? But there's this theory behind it. It's this theory of planned behavior. How we think and feel about the behavior change is important. We also need to make sure that support is given in that social network that you're developing or have already developed, that you feel supported in doing it. And how much do you believe that you are able to make that change? This is what this theory says. It says basically, if I feel like I can do this, if I feel like I have the tools and resources at my side and I have the support system, I'm more likely to do it. And that's part of that planning, right? Like if I have all these things in place, then the change will be a lot easier. So that's the first thing we want to think about. If I plan for it, it'll probably work out be more likely to work out. Second thing you think about, when we see other people around us doing stuff, we're more likely to do it. If we surround and are in an environment that supports that goal, and this is the social cognitive theory behind this. The idea is that change also has these individual components, that a person's abilities and resources, their ability to do it, and the potential detriments and benefits from that behavior, right? So if you're in a community that's doing it, you're less likely to perceive detriments. You're less likely to say like, oh, if I'm doing this. You know, I think about this in terms of alcohol. A lot of times things around alcohol are, you know, if you go out to dinner or to get a drink or to whatever, if you decide suddenly, I'm not gonna have alcohol anymore, it doesn't work for me. How is that gonna affect your ability to like hang out with some friends, right? Or go out with people that you're typically used to going out with who enjoy a glass of wine, right? So thinking about, if we see others in our environment, maybe suggesting that you have a partner in this with you. So if you're going out with a couple of friends, at least one other person is gonna get that club soda with lime for you, you know? Your goal also depends, reaching your goal also depends on where you're starting. So this is dependent on the trans-theoretical model of change, or we call stages of change. It kind of depends on where you're starting. And I'm sorry this is so blurry, but the idea being, for every goal, we're starting at a different location. So it's, for some goals, you're already in action. So it's really not that hard to make that change. That's all the way up here. For other goals, maybe you're just thinking about it. I kind of want to do it, but I kind of don't want to do it, right? We call that ambivalence. And it's not, I don't care either way, like how we normally use the word ambivalence. This is the idea that there are reasons why I'd want to, but there are also really good reasons why I don't want to, okay? Have you ever done that? And I've had that before. So your speed to your goal depends on where you're starting on this. So as you think about your goal, consider, where am I starting? How how patient do I need to be on this scale? And where do I want to end up? What's my speed? How do I define success in this? Is it only the end result? Is that the only way I'll feel successful? Or maybe it's just starting. Maybe it's just getting going. If I can get myself from contemplation to preparing, maybe I can call that success for right now. Okay, I'm starting to take that next step forward. Yeah,
Question.
Absolutely.
The first step,
Yep.
it looks like e-content.
It's cut off. It's pre-contemplation. Yes. It's electronic contemplation. No, it is pre-contemplation. It looks like the visual got cut off. Yes. So the stages of change are pre-contemplation. That's like, I'm not even thinking about it. I don't need to change. I'm good. I'm good right where I am. Contemplation is like, okay. Maybe I want to change, but also maybe I don't want to change. I really like French fries. I mean, I know I should eat less fried food, but I really like French fries. And a steak just isn't good without French fries, right? Then you've got preparation of like, okay, I'm going to do this next week. I'm going to do it next week, I promise, right? The idea, I want to cut out French fries, but I have this fun party this weekend, so I'll do it in a week. Action is I'm going out tonight and I'm ordering and I am switching out the salad. I'm getting a salad instead of French fries. I'm still getting the steak, but I'm not getting the steak frites. I'm getting the steak and salad. Then you have maintenance. And it's so rote now, you just don't even have to think about it. You go into the restaurant and you're like, I don't eat French fries. It's okay. It's not going to change my behavior at all. I'm going to order the steak and I'm not getting French fries. And then there's a sixth step, which is actually, it circles back around. So it is the idea that during all of this, it is not a linear line. You just don't walk up the staircase and say, oh, I'm at my goal. That was easy, right? We all have moments where we falter. We all have moments where, oh, I had the fries. I wasn't going to, and then I did, right? But at least you get back into it. You say, next time, tomorrow, yes.
Having had a career as a maintenance engineer, my challenge whether maintenance is easy.
Well played and accurate. Maintenance is not easy. It is an everyday decision. Just like I bet maintenance in your career every day was making sure things work properly.
You have dailies, weeklies, monthlies.
Exactly. So, and you know, there are people who can attest to this. Like every day, I am dairy free because it just doesn't agree with me. But you don't know how many times I really want to eat dairy. And the idea behind this is I have to remind myself why I don't eat dairy. Every time it comes up, I really want that pizza, but I'm not going to feel good if I eat that, right? So you're absolutely right. It is not easy. I've kind of coasted over that. Maintenance is an everyday decision to stick on board, but you've made it a habit. It's become something that is part of who you are, right? Really, really good point. Thank you. Okay, so my final moment, and I'd love to get some questions, is I'd be curious for you to think, with all the information that I've shared with you and these ideas of what wellness is all about, what could potentially change or improve your well-being, what is something you would like to do? What is your next first step? And I say it just like that because we tend to think of goals as these massive, overarching, I want to lose 25 pounds. If we want to lose 25 pounds, let's break it down into what happens today, what happens tomorrow. My first next step might be, I'm going to buy a pair of sneakers. I'm going to make sure I have the gear I need to, and then maybe tomorrow, this week, I'm going to schedule 3 times that I'm going to walk 1 mile. Right? So it's starting that process. So considering if you have this really overarching goal, back it up to what is my first next step? How do I take that initiative, that next step toward my goal, knowing what we know from today, but knowing what you know about yourselves as well and what is prioritized in your life and what you want to see for your well-being. I'm going to pause there and open it up for questions. I'd love to hear questions. Yes?
But Can you tell us what the next steps are? do you take clients? How does your business work?
Yeah, thank you. So first, I'm going to answer that first part, which is the next step is dependent on you, right? I can't tell you that next step for yourself. I can tell you I do take clients, of course. I support clients personally, individually, and then I also work in corporate as well. In fact, I work with construction and trades companies to support the health and well-being of their team members. But I also do work one-on-one with people, so of course I'd be welcome anyone. But yeah, again, back to that original thing is, it would be easy to know, right? If I had that information, I'd be writing books, I'd be doing world tours. But the crux of this is that you know yourself best. Even when you work with a coach, it's something that you'll find that the benefit comes from you exploring yourself and being open, being curious, right? We talked about that curiosity component. It is really making sure that you know what is important to you and how you want to see the change. And then the coach can ask you the great questions to get you moving forward. Yeah.
Hi. What do you see as critical age points? Because I'm 56, which makes me an Episcopal youth member of the Episcopalians have longevity issues. They're really long-living people.
Yes.
But I'm kind of curious what you see as far as consulting people for age-related issues, because,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people my age who've chosen a lifestyle that leads to other things, and I'm kind of like not making the choices, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Again, it depends on the person, but I would say I would talk to them. So if I was talking to you, I would ask you, like, what are your biggest priorities? What are the things that you would prioritize in life as your big rocks? There's an example I sometimes do in front of people that we talk about our big rocks, our pebbles, and our sand. And our big rocks are the things that we prioritize in life. Like those are our family, our spirituality, our careers, or like the things that we hold paramount, right? Our pebbles are the important things you need to get done weekly, yearly, daily, whatever that is, right? I have a deadline coming up, or we have to go celebrate someone's marriage, or those types of things. And then the sand is the stuff that you do every single day, right? Like the monotony, I have to check my email, I have to make several phone calls, I have to go run errands, all that stuff. The demonstration is that most people put their sand in first. They get done with all those little things all day. And then they take the pebbles and they put the pebbles in the jar. And the bigger things, I need to really tackle this. By the time they get to the rocks, the big priorities in their life, there's just not enough room, right? But if we flip that on its end and we say, what are your priorities in life? What are the things that you really find value in? And let's deal with those first. How do we make sure that our goals align with the things that you're prioritizing? And then we can take those daily pebbles and we can put those in and say, okay, now that we've attended for that, and that might be a daily, so for example, for you, if you say, like, I have a lot of things that I would like to prioritize different, or there are some things that I might do differently, we'll say, okay, let's take a look at your day and how you spend your day and what choices you make, and what are the ones that are most important to you? What are the things that really would support your big rocks? And maybe it's, I want to be around for my family. Okay, well, what does that mean? Maybe it's health related. Maybe you find that you're, pre-diabetic, or you're developing a chronic illness and you need to really deal with some of the health components of your life. Well, then we'll address those first, right? By the time you get to the sand, it fits in. The pebbles trickle through the rocks and the sand trickles through the pebbles, and somehow you do fit it all in. It can all fit in. It's all about the way in which you prioritize. So getting back to your point, if we can take the things that are at the top level for you and like, this is something that I'm really prioritizing, we'll do them one at a time. I say, I don't want you to sweep the table. I don't want you to just clear everything off and restart. That's the best way you can set yourself up for failure. Your brain does not like change. So when you change too many things at once, you're not going to be able to stick with it. So we'll pick one thing. We would pick one thing and say, okay, it sounds like maybe, I don't know, can you give me an example if you're willing to share something that you might prioritize?
Yeah, well, I'm 56. Over the next 10 years, I'm 66. If I don't exercise, it happens.
look, at 56, over the next 10 years, if I don't exercise at all, I'm gonna have muscle atrophy of around 2% per year.
Yep.
That adds up. And you have, I'm facing also at 66 or 70, arthritis.
Yep.
And that could lead to other things. So my goals are around avoiding those things.
Yeah.
So things can be very costly in life.
Yeah.
In terms of long-term care.
Yeah, yeah. So financially costly, but also we call it quality life years, right? So it's also affecting your quality life years, and it costs you those years as well. So.
And no one here has any of those problems.
No, I'm sure. None of us, including yours truly, right? So for you, we would say, okay, so it sounds like being active. And let's just assume, for argument's sake, that we're starting at, I'm inactive, right? We'll say, okay, so we would start talking to you about what does it look like to add some basic activity into your day, into your week, right? And we'll start with small outcomes. So you're talking 10 years from now. I'm saying, okay, let's back that up to 5 years, and then 1 year, and then 6 months, and then this week. Let's back it up to, what can I do today? We're gonna take small little steps, and each week adding on a little bit more to get you to where you need to be years from now, right? That's the idea of when you're building this, how do we make sure that you are doing something in a way that not only is feasible, but also every time we do something, you check back to that overarching goal of, I'm really trying to avoid the physical, financial, and emotional costs of chronic disease at age 70, is what I heard.
Yep.
Other questions?
I like you.
Thanks. I like you too.
Any other questions? Melissa, thank you so much for
Of
being here.
course, absolutely.
Appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your experience with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for being part of this. God bless.
Congrats.